I was Maya Chen, 32 years old, a commercial real estate attorney who had spent the last decade building something I could call mine. My lake house wasn't just property, it was proof. Proof that the scholarship kid from a cramped two-bedroom apartment could make it. Proof that working 70-hour weeks through law school actually meant something. But as I stood on my deck that Memorial Day weekend, watching my family's cars pull up the gravel drive, I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. The one that whispered, "No matter what you achieve, you'll always be the little sister who should just be grateful." My older brother Brandon was the first to emerge from his truck, all 6'3" of him, wearing that easy smile that had charmed our parents his entire life. He was 4 years older, perpetually between opportunities, and somehow always convinced that his next big idea was just one investment away from making him a millionaire. Behind him, my mother Patricia stepped out carefully in her white capris, already scanning the property with that appraising look she got whenever she visited. My father David hung back, carrying the cooler, forever the quiet mediator in a family that ran on volume and expectations. "Maya, this place looks incredible." My mother's voice carried across the lawn as she approached with open arms. "You must have spent a fortune on that new dock." "It needed replacing," I said, accepting her hug. The old one was rotting. "Well, it's beautiful. Your brother was just saying on the drive up how nice it must be to have all this space." She said it casually. But I caught the edge. There was always an edge. Brandon bounded up the deck steps and pulled me into a bear hug. "Little sis, looking good. This place keeps getting better every time I see it." "Thanks. How's the job search going?" His smile didn't falter. "Actually, that's kind of perfect timing. I've got some exciting news to share with everyone today." My stomach dropped. In our family, exciting news from Brandon usually meant he needed something. The last time, it had been a loan for a food truck that never materialized. The time before that, a real estate course that would change everything. I'd said no to both, which had earned me a 3-month silent treatment from our mother and a series of texts about how family is supposed to support family. We settled into the afternoon with the practiced choreography of people who've done this too many times. Dad manned the grill. Mom arranged her famous potato salad on my counter while commenting that the kitchen could really use an update. Brandon cracked beers and told stories about his buddies, each one somehow circling back to business opportunities he'd almost taken or deals that had fallen through because of bad timing or unfair treatment. I moved through it all with a smile, playing hostess in my own home, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It came during dinner. We were seated around my outdoor table, the sun starting to dip toward the tree line, casting everything in that golden late afternoon light that made my lake house look like something from a magazine. I had just brought out dessert when Brandon cleared his throat. "So, I wanted to talk to you all about something. Well, specifically to Maya." He was using his serious voice, the one he deployed when he wanted to be taken seriously. "I've been working with some investors on a commercial gym concept. High-end, boutique fitness. We've got the location scouted in downtown Seattle. The business plan is solid, and we're this close to securing the lease." "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said immediately, reaching over to squeeze his hand. "There's just one small thing." Brandon's eyes locked on mine. "The bank needs a co-signer for the business loan. Just a formality, really. The business plan shows we'll be profitable within 18 months, but since it's my first commercial venture, they want someone with established credit and assets to back it. It's $150,000. The number hung in the air like smoke. "Brandon," I started, but he cut me off. "Before you say anything, just hear me out. This isn't like before. This is a real business with real investors. I've done my research. The fitness industry is booming, especially boutique concepts. I've got a partner who's already run 2 successful gyms in Portland. This is happening, Maya. This is actually happening. Then the bank should approve your loan," I said carefully. "They will. They just need a co-signer, because they don't think you can pay it back on your own." I set down my fork. "That's not a formality, Brandon. That's the bank telling you that you're too high a risk." His jaw tightened. "I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking my sister to believe in me for once. I do believe in you, but I'm not co-signing a $150,000 loan. If you default, I'm responsible for every penny. That's my house, my savings, everything I've worked for." "Oh, here we go." Brandon pushed back from the table. Of course. Maya's worked so hard. Maya's built so much. Maya can't possibly help her own brother because she might lose something. That's not fair. Fair? His voice rose. You want to talk about fair? You know what's not fair. Having a sister who has all of this, he gestured broadly at the house, the lake, everything, and won't lift a finger to help family. You act like you did this all yourself, like you're so much better than the rest of us. Brandon, that's enough, my father said quietly, but no one was listening. My mother had that look on her face, the one that said she'd already chosen sides. Maya, honey, he's your brother. This is a real opportunity for him. You have excellent credit. The bank would barely even notice. Mom, this isn't about my credit score. This is about Brandon wanting me to take on massive financial liability for a business that statistically will probably fail. See? Brandon jabbed a finger in my direction. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Always the lawyer, always the numbers, never just trusting your own family. Do you know how that feels? To have your little sister look at you like you're just another bad investment? That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing? Because from where I'm standing, you're sitting in your fancy lake house, making 6 figures, and you can't even help your brother start a business. Dad, back me up here. My father looked deeply uncomfortable. Son, I think Maya has a right to make her own financial decisions. Of course you'd say that. Everyone always sides with Maya. Perfect Maya who went to law school, who bought this place, who never needs anything from anybody. Well, some of us aren't perfect, okay? Some of us actually need help sometimes. I stood up. My hands were shaking. I've helped you. I helped you with the food truck money. I helped you when you needed a car. I helped you when you couldn't make rent. I have helped you, Brandon, over and over, and you've never paid back a single dollar. Oh, so you were keeping score. That's nice. Real nice. It's not about keeping score. It's about you treating me like a bank instead of a sister. Maybe if you acted like a sister instead of some cold lawyer who only cares about money. Get out. The words came out quieter than I intended, but everyone heard them. Brandon blinked. What? Get out of my house. You don't get to come here, ask me for $150,000, and then insult me when I say no. Leave. Maya, my mother started. You too. If you're going to sit there and tell me I should risk my entire financial future, because family. I said no. That's my answer. If you can't respect that, you can leave too. My mother's face went red. How dare you speak to me like that? I am your mother, and I'm a grown woman in my own home, setting a boundary. You're the one who needs to decide if you can respect it. What happened next felt like it occurred in slow motion and lightning speed simultaneously. Brandon stepped toward me, his face twisted in a way I'd never seen before. You're really going to do this? You're really going to choose money over your own brother? I'm choosing myself over being used. There's a difference. He grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop me from walking away. Listen to me, Maya. I need this. I need you to understand how much I need this. Let go of me. Just listen. I twisted my arm free and stepped back, my heart pounding. I said, let go. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? You have everything, and you won't share any of it. You're selfish, Maya. You've always been selfish. Brandon, that's enough. My father finally raised his voice, moving between us. That's enough from both of you. But my mother was staring at me with this look of profound disappointment. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you would humiliate your brother like this, in front of the whole family, on a holiday weekend. Is this what all your success has made you? Someone who can't even help her own flesh and blood? Something in me cracked. Get out. All of you. Get out of my house right now. Gladly, Brandon spat. I don't want to spend another second around someone so cold-hearted anyway. But don't come crying to us when you're old and alone, and you realize money can't buy you a family. They left in a storm of slammed doors and gravel-spinning tires. My father paused on the way out, his expression pained. Maya, I'm sorry. I'll call you tomorrow. But he still left. I stood on my deck, watching their taillights disappear, and felt the tears start. Not because I regretted saying no. I didn't. But because some part of me had hoped, stupidly, that this time would be different. That this time they'd respect my boundaries. That this time I wouldn't be the villain for protecting myself. I was wrong. The texts started within the hour. First from my mother. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. Your brother is devastated. I don't even know who you are anymore. Then from Brandon. Thanks for nothing. I'll remember this when you need something. Oh wait, perfect. Maya never needs anything, does she? Then from various aunts, uncles, and cousins who had apparently received the family-wide broadcast about my selfishness. Your brother just needs help. Family is supposed to support each other. You should be ashamed. I turned off my phone and poured myself a glass of wine. Over the next week, the campaign intensified. My mother called my office, leaving tearful voicemails about how I was tearing the family apart. Brandon showed up at my gym, cornering me after a workout class to try to talk some sense into me. When I refused to engage, he got loud enough that the staff asked him to leave. But the real shock came 2 weeks later, when I received a call from my bank. Miss Chen, we're calling about the loan application you co-signed for Brandon Chen. We just need to verify some information before final approval. My blood turned to ice. I didn't co-sign anything. There was a pause. Ma'am, we have your signature on the co-signer agreement, dated May 27th, submitted with Mr. Chen's application for a commercial business loan in the amount of $150,000. That's impossible. I never signed anything. When was this submitted? The application came through our online portal on May 30th, 3 days after Memorial Day. 3 days after I'd kicked him out of my house. I need to see that signature. That's fraud. I never authorized this. Another pause. Ma'am, if you're claiming fraud, you'll need to file a police report and contact our fraud department. I filed the police report that afternoon. When I called Brandon, he didn't even try to deny it. I needed you to understand how serious I was. The investors are waiting, Maya. If you'd just actually look at the business plan, you forged my signature on a legal document for a $150,000 loan. That's identity theft. That's fraud. I filed a police report. The line went silent. You did what? I filed a police report. You committed a crime, Brandon. Multiple crimes, actually. It's not a crime to borrow my sister's signature when... Yes, it is. It's literally identity theft and fraud. You're insane. You're actually insane. I'm your brother. You're going to have me arrested over a mistake? A mistake would be using the wrong form. This was deliberate. You forged my signature because I said no, and you decided my consent didn't matter. Mom is going to lose her mind when she hears about this. Good, let her. I'm done caring what any of you think. He hung up. My mother called within the hour, hysterical. The police? You called the police on your own brother. Maya, what has happened to you? He committed fraud, Mom. He forged my signature on loan documents after I explicitly told him no. He was desperate. He just wanted his sister's help. So, that makes identity theft, okay? Would it be okay if a stranger did it? He's not a stranger. He's your brother. Family makes mistakes. You forgive family. Not for crimes, Mom. I don't forgive crimes. He could have destroyed my credit, my career. Everything. And he didn't care because he wanted what he wanted. You're choosing the law over your own family. I hope you can live with that. I hope when you're my age and you're all alone, you remember this moment. You remember that you chose paperwork over your brother. I chose protecting myself over being victimized. There's a difference. She hung up. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Brandon hired a lawyer who tried to argue that it was a misunderstanding and that I had verbally agreed to co-sign, but forgotten. My text messages and the bank's timeline proved otherwise. The security camera footage from my house showed Brandon in my home office during Memorial Day, before dinner, when I'd been outside with my father. Apparently, he'd used that time to photograph my driver's license and social security card from my desk drawer. The prosecutor assigned to the case called it one of the most blatant cases of identity theft between family members she'd seen. My phone never stopped ringing. Extended family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly had opinions about how I was handling this. My cousin Rachel cornered me at the grocery store to tell me I was being vindictive. My Uncle Mark sent me a 10-page email about the importance of forgiveness and Christian values, conveniently ignoring the whole thou shalt not steal thing. The family meeting was called by my Aunt Linda, my father's sister. She summoned me to her house like I was a child being called to the principal's office. I almost didn't go, but I went. The entire extended family was there. 20-some people crammed into Aunt Linda's living room, all looking at me like I was the problem. Brandon sat in the center, looking appropriately contrite, my mother beside him with red-rimmed eyes. "Maya," Aunt Linda began in her most authoritative voice, "we're here because this family is fracturing, and it needs to stop. We've heard from your mother and Brandon about what happened. We think it's time you heard from all of us about how this looks from the outside." I stayed standing near the door. "How it looks? Cruel," my cousin Jessica offered. "Having your own brother arrested over money. He forged my signature on a $150,000 loan," I said flatly. "He made a mistake," Aunt Linda interjected. "A desperate mistake because he felt like he had nowhere else to turn. You've been blessed with success, Maya. Not everyone has your advantages." "My advantages?" I felt something hot and bright rise in my chest. I worked 3 jobs through college. I graduated with $60,000 in student loan debt that I just finished paying off last year. I studied while you all partied. I sacrificed while you all spent. Don't you dare call my hard work advantages. That's exactly the kind of attitude that got us here, my mother said, her voice trembling. This superiority complex. Like you're better than all of us because you have a fancy job and a lake house. I never said I was better than anyone. I said no to co-signing a loan, and Brandon committed a crime in response. Those are facts. "He's your brother," someone shouted from the back. "And I'm a person with rights. I have the right to say no without being victimized." Aunt Linda held up her hands. "Everyone, please. Maya, here's what we're proposing. Brandon has agreed to go to counseling. He's acknowledged that his method was wrong, but we think, as a family, we can work this out without involving the legal system. If you drop the charges, Brandon will apologize and pay for any legal fees you've incurred. We can move forward as a family." I stared at her. "And the loan application? He's already withdrawn it. That doesn't undo the forgery. That doesn't undo the breach of trust. That doesn't undo the fact that he thought it was okay to steal my identity because I didn't give him what he wanted." "Maya, please," my father said quietly. He'd been silent until now. "He's your brother. Is this really worth tearing the family apart?" And there it was. The question I'd been dreading. Because the answer was yes, but saying yes meant admitting something I'd been avoiding my whole life. This family had always been broken, and I'd been the only one trying to hold it together. "Is it worth it to you?" I asked him. "Is it worth it to any of you that he committed a crime against me? Or is the only thing that matters here that I stop making waves and let it go, so everyone can feel comfortable again?" No one answered. That's what I thought. I grabbed my purse. "I'm not dropping the charges. Brandon is an adult who made an adult decision to commit fraud. He can face adult consequences. And all of you can decide if you want to keep enabling him or actually hold him accountable for once in his life. If you walk out that door," my mother said, her voice shaking, "don't bother coming back. You won't be welcome at family gatherings. You won't be part of this family anymore." I paused at the threshold. Good. Because I'm tired of being part of a family that only values me when I'm useful. I walked out. The weeks that followed were lonely in a way I hadn't anticipated. No more group texts. No more holiday planning discussions. No more random calls from my mother about recipes or gossip. Just silence. But also peace. I started going to therapy. My therapist, Dr. Sarah Morrison, helped me understand something I'd been avoiding. I'd been financially supporting my family for years without even realizing the full extent of it. When I finally sat down and calculated the loans to Brandon, the cash I'd given my mother for emergencies, the credit card I'd opened for my father's medical bills, the car repair I'd paid for my cousin, the rent deposit for my uncle, it totaled over $80,000, none of which had ever been repaid, not because they couldn't pay me back, because they'd never seen it as a loan in the first place. It was just what Maya did. Maya helped. Maya had money. Maya could afford it. The criminal case against Brandon moved forward. His lawyer tried to get the charges dropped, but the evidence was too clear. In the end, he took a plea deal. Probation, restitution for my legal fees, mandatory financial counseling, and a permanent record. My mother sent me one final text. "I hope you're proud of yourself. You destroyed your brother's life over your precious money. Don't ever contact me again." I blocked her number. But life, surprisingly, got better. I joined a women's professional group and met Sarah, a tax attorney who'd also cut off contact with toxic family members. We started having coffee every week, sharing war stories and building something that felt more like real family than blood ever had. I started dating someone I met at a bar association event. Marcus was a public defender who understood complicated family dynamics because he'd lived them too. When I told him the whole story on our third date, he didn't flinch. He just said, "Good for you for protecting yourself." I hosted Thanksgiving at my lake house. Sarah came, Marcus came, 3 other attorneys from my professional group came, my assistant came. We cooked too much food, drank good wine, and spent the evening laughing instead of walking on eggshells. During dessert, Sarah raised her glass. "I'd like to propose a toast to Maya for having the courage to choose herself, and to all of us for building the families we needed when the ones we had weren't enough." We clinked glasses, and I felt something release in my chest, something I'd been holding tight for 32 years. 6 months later, I was working late at my office when my assistant buzzed. "Maya, your father is here. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important." I almost said to send him away, but curiosity won. He looked older than I remembered, grayer, tired. "Hi, honey, Dad. I won't take up much of your time. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For all of it. For not standing up for you when Brandon attacked you. For not supporting your decision. For letting your mother guilt you all those years. For not seeing what we were doing to you." I waited. "Brandon violated his probation last month. He's in jail. Your mother is staying with Linda now. She can't afford the house on her own." He cleared his throat. "I filed for divorce. I should have done it years ago, but I thought I was keeping the peace. I realize now I was just enabling her to hurt you." "Dad, let me finish. You were right. About all of it. I've spent the last 6 months in therapy, and I've realized that I taught you that your worth came from what you could provide for others. That love was conditional on usefulness, and I'm so sorry." Tears stung my eyes. "Thank you for saying that. I'm not asking you to let me back in your life. I know I don't deserve that. I just needed you to know that you were right to walk away, and I'm proud of you for doing it." He left after that, and I sat in my office crying for 20 minutes. We started having lunch once a month. Slow, careful rebuilding. He never asked me for anything. He never brought up Brandon or my mother. He just showed up, asked about my life, and listened. It wasn't much, but it was real. I was sitting on my deck one evening, a year after that Memorial Day disaster, watching the sunset paint the lake gold and pink. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Brunch tomorrow? Marcus and I are making plans." I smiled and typed back, "Absolutely." Another text came through, this time from my father. "Proud of you, Maya. Hope you're having a good evening." I looked out at the water, at the home I'd built, at the life I'd chosen. For the first time in my entire life, I wasn't waiting for someone to need something from me. I wasn't calculating what I owed or what I could give. I was just existing in my own space, surrounded by people who valued me for me, not for what I could provide. I raised my wine glass to the empty deck, to the ghost of the girl who used to believe that being useful was the same as being loved. "I'm not your bank account," I whispered to the wind. "I'm not your safety net. I'm not your backup plan. I'm Maya, and that's enough." The lake didn't answer, but it didn't need to. I already knew.